Hello everybody. In this video we're going to be taking a look at how you can reflect coordinates. We'll go over two different methods on how to do this, and we'll do some examples together. So first, what are the two different methods we can use to reflect points? The first and the most basic of the more basic of the two would be just a counting principle, where we're talking about if we're reflecting over either the x or y axis, counting how far away you are from that axis, and then simply counting off the same distance in the opposite direction. So in other words, if I wanted to reflect point A, which I've already plotted down below, 3, -5, let's say I wanted to reflect that over the y-axis, that's the vertical axis, I would simply count, and you wouldn't do this, I'm just doing this more as a demonstration, the fact that it's 3 units away on the right, so you would also go 3 units away on the left and arrive at your new point, which we would call A prime. Okay, so that's the counting method, we should say. Counting principle is something else in math. That's for another discussion. The other method to reflect points would be using a rule, using some, I don't want to say a formula, but kind of like a given pattern. I guess it kind of is a formula on how to do this. And it's very simple to remember. When you're reflecting over the x-axis, all you're doing is simply negating the y-coordinate. Okay, and think about why that makes sense. If I was reflecting over the x-axis, so again, let's use that point A as an example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, we'll use our counting technique. But now if we observe the coordinates of A prime, what happened to go from blue to green there? The 3 stayed the same. So the only thing that changed was the fact that we went from -5 to 5. It kind of makes sense. We're staying on the same x plane. We're staying on the same left or right plane. We're just changing vertically. And because it's the same distance on either side, all it's going to change is the sign itself. Okay? And for y, reflecting over the y-axis, it's going to be the exact opposite. We're negating x now. Okay, so a quick rule of thumb, a quick way to remember this, simply negate the opposite coordinate. For the x-axis, you negate y. For the y-axis, you negate x. And if all else fails, go back to method 1. Simply just count. If you're not sure, if you're confused between the two, don't make an error trying to be fancy. Simply go back to the counting approach. Okay? So now, with that in mind, let's try one more example. Let's do B. And let's say B is at -7, -1. And we're going to do two reflections. We'll reflect it over the x. We'll call that B prime. And we'll do B double prime, which will be a reflection of B prime over the y-axis. Okay, so let's start with B itself. -7, -1. I'm going to start at the origin. Go over to -7, so 7 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. -1. My x is in the way here. Once again, plotting coordinates. Remember, your x value first, left or right. Your y value second, up or down. So -7, -1. So reflecting it over x, the x-axis, counting would be very simple here. I'm only 1 unit away. But we could try our trick of just negating the y value. So B prime should have coordinates of -7. We keep the x value the same. If we negate -1, it's going to become +1. So therefore, using either approach, B prime should be right there. Okay? And now we're going to reflect that over the y-axis. So once again, we could count. It's going to be a little far away here. So let's try our quote-unquote formula approach. We're reflecting over y, which means we should negate the opposite coordinate. We're going to negate the x value, so instead of -7, it's going to become +7, and we're going to keep the 1 the same. Whatever you're reflecting over, you keep that particular coordinate the same, you negate the other one. Okay, so 7, 1. And B double prime would be located right here. Okay, this is a quick little video on how you can reflect points in the coordinate plane, two different approaches. Once again, always a good safety net, falling back to that counting approach. Count how far you are to that quote-unquote mirror, how far you are from that particular axis, and count off in the opposite direction. Thank you guys for watching.